The cold wind whipped through the narrow streets of Millbrook, carrying with it the sharp scent of industrial smoke and broken dreams. Emma Williams stood at the kitchen window, her thin fingers wrapped around a chipped mug of lukewarm tea, watching the gray morning slowly come to life. At 28, Emma knew what struggle looked like. She had learned it from her mother, who had learned it from her mother before her. Poverty wasn't just a temporary state in their family. It was a legacy passed down like an unwelcome inheritance. Jack, her 7-year-old son, sat at the small kitchen table, carefully mending a hole in his school bag. His small hands moved with a precision that broke Emma's heart. No child should know how to repair things before they've had a chance to enjoy them. 2 weeks ago, the textile factory where Emma had worked for 6 years had closed without warning. Hundreds of workers, including her, were suddenly left without income. The town of Millbrook had seen better days, factories shutting down, businesses closing, hope slowly draining away like water from a cracked basin. "Mom." Jack looked up, his bright blue eyes hopeful. "Do you think I can still go on the school trip?" Emma's heart sank. The school trip would cost £30, money they simply didn't have. But she couldn't bear to crush her son's excitement. "We'll see, sweetheart," she said, her voice carefully controlled. Their tiny 2-room apartment felt smaller with each passing day. The wallpaper peeled at the edges, and the radiator made strange clicking sounds when it tried to push out what little heat it could manage. Emma had become an expert at stretching every pound, every resource. At night, after Jack was asleep, she would sit by the dim lamp, searching for job opportunities online. Her ancient computer, a gift from her deceased grandmother, wheezed and struggled with each click. But Emma was determined. She was taking online courses, learning computer skills, hoping to create a different path for herself and Jack. The morning routine was always the same. Wake up at 5, prepare Jack's lunch, often just a simple sandwich and an apple. Check that his clothes were clean, his homework completed. Make sure he had everything he needed, even when she wasn't sure how they would manage. Her part-time cleaning jobs were sporadic. Some weeks she would get 3 or 4 shifts, other weeks nothing at all. The uncertainty was a constant companion, sitting at their table like an invisible guest, watching their every move. Jack was different from other children. He understood more than a 7-year-old should. When they walked past the shops, he would never ask for toys or sweets. Instead, he would point out things they could save money on, or suggest ways they could make their meals stretch further. "We're a team, right, Mum?" he would often say, his small hand slipping into hers. And they were. A team against the world, against poverty, against the endless cycle that seemed determined to keep them down. Emma remembered her own childhood. The constant worry, the hushed conversations between her parents about bills, the careful rationing of everything. She had promised herself that Jack would have more, would have hope. As the morning light grew stronger, Emma checked her phone. Another job application sent. Another hope, hanging in the balance. The bills on the kitchen counter seemed to mock her. Electricity, water, rent, each one a mountain she needed to climb. But Emma Williams was not someone who gave up easily. She had survived worse. She would survive this too. Jack finished mending his bag and looked up, a small smile of accomplishment on his face. "All done, Mum," he said proudly. In that moment, despite everything, Emma felt a surge of love so powerful it could have moved mountains. Her son, resilient, kind, hopeful, was her greatest treasure. The day was just beginning, and with it came another chance, another opportunity. Emma squared her shoulders, ready to face whatever challenges would come. They might be struggling, but they were together, and sometimes that was enough. The library stood like an old friend in the heart of Millbrook, its brick walls weathered but welcoming. Margaret Peterson, the head librarian, had worked here for over 30 years, watching generations of town residents pass through its doors. She had a keen eye for people, especially those who carried hidden struggles. Emma walked in that Wednesday afternoon, looking tired but determined. Her son Jack trailed behind her, carrying a worn backpack and a stack of borrowed books. Margaret noticed how carefully Emma helped Jack find a quiet corner, how she checked his homework with gentle hands that seemed to smooth away the day's worries. "Need any help finding something?" Margaret asked, approaching Emma with a warm smile. Emma looked up, surprise flickering in her tired eyes. "Just helping Jack with his school project," she replied softly. Over the next few weeks, Margaret began to see a pattern. Emma would come in after her cleaning shifts, using the library's free computer to search for jobs, apply for courses, and help Jack with his studies. The library became more than just a building. It became their sanctuary. One particularly cold afternoon, Margaret overheard Jack whispering to his mother. "We don't have enough money for the science project," he said, his voice cracking with disappointment. Emma's hand trembled slightly as she tried to comfort him. Something stirred in Margaret's heart. She had watched Emma's quiet determination, her relentless hope in the face of constant challenges. "I might have a part-time position," Margaret said quietly to Emma the next day. "The library needs someone to help organize our community resources. Part-time, but it comes with computer access and some flexible hours." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. I would be grateful for any opportunity," she stammered. The job wasn't much, just 12 hours a week, minimum wage. But it was a lifeline. Emma would help organize community information, assist with local resource tracking, and manage some basic library administrative tasks. Jack's world began to change too. Margaret introduced him to free after-school programs, found him secondhand science books, and helped him connect with local student support groups. The library became his second home, a place of endless possibilities. Emma's new job meant Jack could participate in more school activities. His teachers noticed the change. He was more confident, more engaged. The boy who once sat quietly in the corner now asked questions, participated in class discussions. The community slowly began to notice Emma and Jack. Mrs. Thompson from the local bakery would slip an extra pastry into Jack's bag. Mr. Roberts, who ran the hardware store, offered Emma some basic computer training during his slow afternoons. Small acts of kindness, tiny connections that began to weave a safety net around them. Emma's computer skills improved. She learned digital filing, basic graphic design, and community networking. The library became her classroom, her opportunity for growth. Jack discovered a world beyond their small apartment. Through library programs, he joined a junior science club, made friends, and started dreaming bigger. His school projects became more ambitious, his curiosity endless. Margaret watched their transformation with quiet joy. She had seen many families come through the library, but something about Emma and Jack was different. Their resilience, their love for each other, their unwavering hope. It was beautiful. One evening, as the library was closing, Margaret pulled Emma aside. "There's a computer training program," she said, sliding a brochure across the desk. "I think you might be interested. Scholarships are available for working mothers." Emma's hands shook as she took the brochure. Another door opening. Another chance. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Outside, the town of Millbrook continued its quiet rhythm. But inside the library, something magical was happening. A mother and son were writing their own story of hope, one page at a time. Jack looked up from his books, catching his mother's eye. They shared a smile, a secret language of love, resilience, and unbreakable connection. Winter descended on Millbrook like an unwelcome guest, bringing bitter cold and relentless challenges. Emma's tiny apartment felt smaller with each passing day, the old heating system struggling against the frost that crept through every crack and window frame. Jack's cough started quietly, just a small rasp in the morning, but as days passed, it grew worse. Emma watched with growing worry, her hand constantly feeling his forehead, checking for fever. Money was tight, so tight that every decision felt like an impossible choice between necessities. One particularly brutal morning, everything seemed to fall apart at once. Emma's ancient computer, her lifeline to job opportunities and online courses, suddenly died. The screen went black, taking with it weeks of saved applications, course notes, and hope. At the same time, the apartment's heating system gave a final, desperate groan and stopped working completely. Jack's cough had become a persistent wheeze. His small body shivered despite the layers of clothing Emma had carefully arranged. "I'm okay, Mum," he would say, trying to sound brave. But Emma knew better. Tears came that night. Not dramatic sobs, but quiet, desperate drops of frustration. Emma allowed herself just moments of weakness, careful not to let Jack see her break. She had always been strong, always found a way. But tonight, the weight of everything felt unbearable. The next morning, something changed. Emma realized crying wouldn't solve anything. She bundled Jack up, walked through the freezing streets to the community health center, and explained their situation. The kind nurse, Sarah, helped them get Jack checked and prescribed medication at a reduced cost. At the library, Margaret noticed Emma's determined face. "I might know someone," she said, handing Emma a business card for a local computer repair shop owned by a community support group. The repair shop owner, Robert, listened to Emma's story. Instead of charging full price, he offered to fix her computer for a fraction of the cost. "We help our own," he said simply. Emma began reaching out everywhere: job centers, community groups, even her previous workplace. Each call, each email, was a small battle. She refused to let circumstances define her future. A local job training program caught her attention. They were looking for individuals willing to learn technical skills, offering support for working parents. The application required detailed information, computer access, and commitment. Jack became her silent supporter. Despite being sick, he would sit quietly, drawing pictures while Emma worked on applications. His drawings became a source of hope, bright colors breaking through the gray of their challenging days. One afternoon, an unexpected call came. A small tech company was impressed by Emma's persistent applications and her willingness to learn. They wanted to interview her for an entry-level position that offered training and growth. The interview was nothing like Emma expected. Instead of a formal interrogation, it felt like a conversation. They were interested in her story, her determination, her willingness to learn and grow. Her potential employer, Michael Thompson, saw something special. "We're not just looking for employees," he told her. "We're looking for people who can become part of our team, our community." Jack's health slowly improved. The medication, combined with Emma's careful nursing and support from the community health center, helped him recover. His bright spirit never dimmed even during the most challenging days. As winter began to retreat, something had changed in Emma. The breaking point had not broken her. It had made her stronger. Each challenge had become a stepping stone, each difficulty a lesson in resilience. The computer was repaired. The heating would be fixed. Jack was getting better, and most importantly, hope had found its way back into their lives. That evening, as Jack drew another colorful picture and Emma reviewed her interview notes, they shared a moment of quiet triumph. They were more than survivors. They were fighters. The world might throw challenges their way, but Emma and Jack would face them together, one step at a time, with hope as their greatest weapon. The morning of the interview arrived with unexpected sunshine, breaking through Millbrook's typical gray skies. Emma had prepared for days, practicing interview questions, ironing her only decent outfit, a dark blue blouse she had carefully mended. Jack helped her prepare, checking her appearance with serious concentration. "You look beautiful, Mum," he said, smoothing down an invisible wrinkle on her sleeve. His belief in her was absolute, a pure and powerful thing that gave her strength. Robert Thompson's small tech company sat in a renovated warehouse at the edge of town. The building looked modern and hopeful, nothing like the old factories that had defined Millbrook's past. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she pushed open the glass doors. The interview was different from anything she had experienced before. Instead of intimidating questions, Michael Thompson seemed genuinely interested in her story. He asked about her struggles, her determination to learn, her hopes for the future. "We're not just looking for employees," Michael explained. "We're looking for people who can grow, who can bring something unique to our team. Emma spoke about her journey, caring for Jack, working part-time jobs, studying whenever she could. She talked about her computer skills, learned through library courses and endless practice. Her voice was steady, her eyes bright with possibility. Jack waited in the library with Margaret, completing homework and drawing pictures. Margaret watched, him with a mixture of pride and hope, understanding that this interview could change everything for Emma and her son. Hours passed. Emma emerged from the interview looking both excited and nervous. The company offered her a junior administrative role with on-the-job training. The salary wasn't massive, but it represented something far more important, a chance, an opportunity. That evening, they celebrated with a simple meal, instant noodles decorated with extra vegetables Margaret had secretly slipped to Jack. The apartment, usually quiet with worry, now rang with laughter and hope. "I'm so proud of you, Mum," Jack said, his eyes sparkling. He understood more than most children his age, the weight of their struggles, the significance of this moment. The job meant more than money. It meant stability. It meant learning. It meant a future where opportunities could grow. Emma's first weeks at the company were a whirlwind of learning. She discovered she was faster at computer tasks than many colleagues. Her experience of stretching resources, of finding creative solutions, made her valuable. Michael noticed her potential, offering additional training opportunities. Jack's life changed too. No longer worried about basic necessities, he could focus on school. His science projects became more ambitious. The local library became his playground of knowledge, with Margaret supporting his curious mind. The community watched Emma's transformation. Mrs. Thompson from the bakery would slip extra pastries to Jack. Mr. Roberts from the hardware store offered advice and encouragement. Small acts of kindness that felt like a warm embrace. Emma started a small savings account. Each paycheck felt like a victory, a step away from constant financial stress. She began planning, not just surviving, but dreaming. Weekends became special times. Emma and Jack would visit the library, read together, explore local parks. They were no longer just surviving, they were living. Her colleagues at the tech company became more than just workmates. They became a support system, offering advice, sharing experiences. Emma discovered she was not alone in her journey. Jack's teachers noticed the change. His confidence grew, his grades improved. He spoke about future dreams, becoming a scientist, exploring the world, making a difference. As months passed, something fundamental had shifted. The constant fear that had lived in their home, the fear of not having enough, of being one unexpected bill away from crisis, began to dissolve. One quiet evening, watching Jack complete a complex science project, Emma realized something profound. Their journey was not just about surviving, it was about transforming, about proving that with determination, support, and love, anything was possible. The turning point wasn't just a job. It was a moment of believing, truly believing, that their future could be different. And for Emma and Jack, that belief was everything. 2 years had passed since that life-changing interview. Millbrook looked different now. Hope had returned to its streets, painting the town with renewed energy and possibility. Emma Williams stood in her new apartment, not luxurious but clean, warm, and filled with light. A small desk sat by the window, where her updated computer hummed softly. Jack's science projects covered the walls, colorful evidence of his growing passion and potential. Her professional certification hung framed beside family photographs, a testament to her incredible journey. The tech company had become more than just a job. It was a platform for growth, for learning, for transforming her entire life. Jack, now 9 years old, had blossomed into a curious and confident boy. His school science club had become his second home. He spoke about complex ideas with a maturity that made Emma proud. Every weekend they would visit the library, Margaret, watching their progress with quiet joy. The college savings fund Emma had started was growing. Small contributions each month represented more than money. They represented hope, possibility, a future without constant financial fear. Michael Thompson, Her original interviewer had become a mentor. He saw potential in Emma that she had never recognized in herself. Additional training, flexible work hours, and continuous support helped her grow professionally. Community connections became her strength. The local job center that had initially helped her now invited Emma to speak at workshops. She shared her story, not as a tale of struggle, but as a journey of resilience and transformation. Jack's school noticed his remarkable progress. Teachers spoke about his creativity, his problem-solving skills, his ability to think differently. Science competitions became his new playground, with Emma supporting every step of his journey. Their weekends were now filled with possibility. Hiking local trails, visiting science museums, exploring books together. The constant stress that had once defined their life had been replaced by joy, learning, and connection. Emma's part-time library work continued, a reminder of where her journey began. Margaret remained a constant supporter, watching Emma and Jack's transformation with motherly pride. The tech company recognized Emma's potential. She was no longer just an entry-level employee. She had become a valued team member, known for her dedication, her creative problem-solving, and her unique perspective. Financial stability meant more than just paying bills. It meant planning. It meant dreaming. Jack could now participate in school trips, join after-school programs, explore his interests without constant worry. Local community groups began inviting Emma to share her story. She spoke honestly about struggles, about persistence, about the power of support and determination. Her talks inspired other single parents, other individuals fighting against challenging circumstances. Robert from the computer repair shop remained a friend. He would often check on their computer, offering advice, supporting their journey. The community had become their extended family. Jack's dream of becoming a scientist grew stronger. He spoke about solving environmental challenges, about creating technologies that could help people. His dreams were no longer just childish fantasies. They felt like genuine possibilities. Emma's transformation went beyond professional success. She had discovered her own strength, her ability to create change, her power to shape her own destiny. The apartment that was once cold and cramped now felt warm and alive. Bookshelves filled with science books, Jack's drawings, family photographs. Each item told a story of resilience, of hope, of love. As evening approached, Emma would often sit with Jack, discussing his school projects, listening to his dreams. Their conversations were no longer about survival, but about potential, about future, about endless possibilities. The town of Millbrook had watched their journey. What began as a story of struggle had become a narrative of hope. Emma and Jack represented something powerful, the ability to transform circumstances through determination, support, and unwavering love. Their story was not just about overcoming poverty. It was about building a life, creating opportunities, believing in possibilities. As Jack completed his latest science project and Emma prepared dinner, they both knew something profound. Their greatest adventure was just beginning.